cool. Hey dudes, it's Cool Dude Ghoul here, and I'm thrilled to be on my tinkly toes to be doing another Horrah of Aurora. Tickled beyond belief, and old Igorro, you know, he snooched on the old Cluedo, hello, and he said, would you like to do another show? And I said, just tell me where to go, and I know where to go, right here in Igorro's castle keep. So we're gonna start right away with more Aurora Horrah. Let's take a peek, see and see what he's got. Yeah, da 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 da. The Phantom, the Phantom of the Opera, the Opera. The Phantom, the Phantom, the Phantom, the Phantom of the Opera, the Opera. When Igorro was little, that's the song that he sang. It was his own original musical, even before the musical came out of the Phantom of the Opera, which I've seen. The da 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 da. I give it on a scale from 1 to 10. I give it a. I don't want singing monsters, but okay, I get it. It's the Phantom. But this anyway is a nice rendition of the original Aurora Phantom of the Opera kit. Now the thing that's really cool about the Phantom is, again, they went back to the Universal Lon Chaney, but also they put a little nitchy-witchy touch to it. Why? It's dusty but beautiful. Anyway, the one thing they did about this Phantom is they combined it with the Lon Chaney Sr. version and Man of a Thousand Faces with James Cagney, who played Lon Chaney Sr. Very interesting film on Lon Chaney Sr. So if you notice when you look at the cover, even more so than the actual model, it does have a look of the James Cagney Phantom 2, and he's green. He was painted green on the front in some of the covers. I don't know if he was always green, but I remember it being green, and a part of me kind of wants to ka-choo, ha! Part of me wants me to paint him a little bit green, you know? It's kind of cool. It's like the Frankenstein monster, you know? And we'll talk about that later. But that greenish look on the cover was, again, really cool. And they kind of did an intermedium. From the cover of the box, they had this little guy back here screaming, which never seen in the film. He didn't like torture people. This guy's got bones showing through his arms. He's in bad shape. Looks like he's been attacked by crazy dogs or something. I don't know. But they put this up in a cell door, and this part was up here in the painting, right? And there's redo kits where they stick exactly to the cover of the box. Yeah, this is 1963. This is the 1963 Aurora Phantom of the Opera, the original one. It's beautiful. Now, if you notice, there is one pushlaka here, which is this mask. I lost the mask, right? I lost it. So, I used a Bela Lugosi Dracula head, and I sawed off part of it, right? And made a mask out of it. So it's clearly Lugosi's face there, but I lost the original mask, and I suppose I could find it somewhere and order it for like $1,000 billion, but I'm not doing that. I'm just gonna leave it like this, unless somebody wants to donate one to me. That'd be awesome. Or if there's a place I can get one for cheap, I'm sure there's some Aurora bits and pieces area where you can go and get it. But anyway, that's how he is. That is the Phantom of the Opera. And it basically does look a lot like Lon Chaney Sr., who, back when he made that silent version, when they unveiled his face, the audience, some of them fainted. It was so shocking back in the 20s, you know, in the silent film. Nobody had seen anything so horrifying. He totally went for the skull look, right? You know how he got that look? He took hooks and he pinned his nose back and connected them to the wig. And then he took these little eyelet kind of ring things to put around his eyes to bug his eyes out, which is crazy dangerous because those things could have popped, cut his, eye. You don't want that happening. But again, he was, suffering for his art. He was just he did some very painful things in his makeups. He also strapped himself down with a hunchback, which the latex hump on his back was 70 pounds. He was running around in that thing. It must have been painful. And in the film The Penalty, he actually bent his legs back and strapped them so it looked like he had no legs. And ow, that's gonna be not comfy. What if you cramped up? You got a muscle cramp? You're like, I got leather straps, I can't even get at it. So the man was a, glutton for punishment, but boy was his work great. So again, that is the Phantom. Now in the original novel of the Phantom of the Opera, he was born deformed, right? In this movie, the original Phantom of the Opera, Silent Lon Chaney Sr. film, they never really talk about why it looks so hideous, but he was apparently supposed to be born that way. But in the later films, Herbert Lom's, Hammer version, and even the Claude Rains version, he gets acid thrown in his face. In the 43 version, Claude Rains version, which they obviously didn't do here. That was Universal's first color monster movie, but it was really more of a melodrama. It really, I love Claude Rains, but the movie itself, it doesn't have the gothic appeal that we think of when we think of the Phantom. Whereas the Hammer film with Herbert Lom, that one really had a gothic appeal. It didn't do well at the box office, but it's a good film, and Herbert Lom is awesome as the Phantom. And he, again, his face got burned because this snarny guy stole all of his music. So he went in to destroy the plates and the printing press, and he threw all the prints of his music because this guy put his name on it. And he got burned while he was throwing those things away in the furnace and got horribly burned, and that's how he got scarred up in that version. And then there have been later versions. There even is a virgin. There's no virgins. There might be. But yeah, they did with Robert Englund, who's Freddy from Nightmare on Elm Street. He did a version, a really graphic version, and a couple other guys that did versions, and one based on the musical, and blah, 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 blah. Who cares? There are three in my world. There is the original 1920, I believe 25 is when the Phantom came out. Then there's the 43 version with Claude Rains, which again is the weakest version, I think, of the three. And then the Hammer version, which came out in the 60s. And that's my favorite version. But my favorite look is definitely this one. So there we are, there it is. And that's the Phantom of the Opera. Cool, baby, cool. Oh, yeah, oh man. This is awesome. This is in dire need of repair. I just noticed this thing broke off. This is the Mad Doctor. Look at that, baby. Ooh, look at him. He's pretty cool, ain't he? Now here's the surprise about the Mad Doctor. This kit was made by Igorro by himself. He made it himself. He took other parts and Frankenstein this kit together. There was no Mad Doctor, as we know in Aurora. So if you notice, again, Igorro must have had a lot of Dracula heads, because here's another Dracula head. I believe when he was little, he got the glow kits, and the glow kits always had optional heads, right? So he put on a Dracula head here, and this is Dracula hands right here. This jacket, though, is from Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, right? And the pants are Dracula, but he took the lab jacket and he cut off part of the jacket so it was a little shorter, so he could get this leg in here. This is, again, the Dracula legs, right? With the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde lab coat, and Dracula arms and head and hands. So it's mostly Frankenstein from Count Dracula. And then these pieces in the back, this is again, this is the table from Jekyll and Hyde. And the skull, I think, is from Jekyll and Hyde. I don't even, no, I don't think it is. Maybe it's from the Wolfman. I don't know. And then these chemical boxes are variants ones. This one's an actual glass, which is broken on the side there. And then he's got some extra pieces. And then the electrical equipment in the back here of the lab, that's Legos. Completely cheated on that one. And then these are just needles, pins, just stuck right in there, just ka-ching for the old Jacob's ladder. Electricity not included. And then the back here, this is what they used, when they wrote kits to break off the pieces of your models to put them together. So he kind of made that look like one of those lab pipe devices, and things need to be glued back on, right? This needs to be put back in place. And there's some pieces here I've noticed that have fallen off. And then the base is from The Forgotten Prisoner. That's the background that is chained to the castle or the prison wall. So it all kind of works, doesn't it? And I'd like to repaint it. He's a little crude, but it was difficult, I think, for Igorro, because he had to put this hair on there. And this is real, not real hair, but dimension. It's real fuzzy. It's real fuzz, which is not an Aurora, feature at all in their kits. But yeah, mad scientist. Why not? So yeah, this is the only one of its kind. This is a rarity. And it was, but the Mad Doctor was such an essential part of the Universal Monsters. It's funny that they didn't get to that. It seems like they might have done a Mad Doctor. They certainly did a Dawn Post Mad Doctor. But they didn't. So this is where it is. But I think they're basing like the Dawn Post Doctor looked like Dr. Neiman kind of. He kind of looked like Karloff as the Mad Doctor. Like I said before, they never really had a Mad Doctor. They've done things since. But anyway, this is that. This is the one-of-a-kind Mad Doctor. Cool, dude. Okay. Yeah. There you go. This one is the first universe. Sorry. Wow. Oh my God. Wowza. I inhaled some dust. Don't inhale dust. It doesn't help you. It makes your eyes water. Here we go with the Frankenstein monster, baby. This is the first one. This is the first model that Aurora built. And Aurora made Frankenstein thinking, well, let's make this model and kind of see how it goes. Well, it went really well. It sold out immediately. They made this Aurora Frankenstein and people went crazy. It just went nuts. These kids in the 60s and 70s were infatuated with monsters. They were great. Because that's all you had. There were no video games, there were no iPhones, none of that. Boop. None of that stuff, man. This was your stuff. So anyway, this one, again, James Bauman did the cover. I think he took it from a publicity still from House of Frankenstein. So he actually painted the cover based more on Glenn Strange. And I think originally even in the painting, and I'm not sure, but that original Universal Frankenstein where he had the clamps on his forehead and his skin was pinched, there was no scar. I think the painting even had that element going on. But I could be wrong. But anyway, and again, he looked kind of greenish yellow on the cover. And again, it looked a little different. He wasn't in the cover, he wasn't like this. He was like this, sort of, in the painting of the cover. But this actually really does look like Karloff. And it's not Frankenstein, it's Bride of Frankenstein. This is the scene where, in the first film, he burns up in the windmill and then they think he's dead, but it turns out he had fallen into kind of a well underneath where the it burned down, and then he fell in and he was in water, right? And he gets out, and this old woman thinks she's helping her husband out of the well because he wants to make sure that the creature's dead, and she's like, oh gosh, and she helps him up, and then she looks and he throws her in the well. It's pretty cool. He had an attitude by then, you know what I'm saying? He wasn't so cool then. He was like, I'm a little upset about you guys trying to burn me up, chasing me with those torches. You're giving me attitude, and I'm not digging that, right? So he comes out, and then he goes storming through the graveyard, and he's knocking trees over, and it's pretty cool. But that's where this is happening from. So it's great they put Frankenstein on the back of the tombstone. And again, the base is real, no pun intended, real basic, right? It's basic base. But the detail on him is definitely from the Bride of Frankenstein, because he's got the ripped up clothing. His hair has been burnt down to his, basically down to his scalp. Because in the original first version, he has bangs, and stuff. He doesn't have any of that happening because it all burned off. And it's totally from the Bride of Frankenstein, 1935. And again, I kind of am thinking of repainting him and making him green, little green tinge, because that was the big thing in the 60s when they first came out with the Frankenstein monster rubber mask. It was green. They said, let's add something to it. When we watch the monster on TV, black and white, of course, so he's always just pale like this. When they made masks, they were like, let's make him green. And so it kind of stuck, right? So all of a sudden you saw the monster a lot, he became green, and it kind of works for me, I don't mind, that's kind of cool. So yeah, I'm gonna make him a little bit green. Some people would say, no, that's not accurate, and that's cool. I see what you're saying, but I think that would be fun to make him a little green. What people don't know, or might know, is that Stan Lee, when he created the Incredible Hulk, Incredible Hulk is based on the Frankenstein monster and Jekyll and Hyde, right? The Jekyll and Hyde is the gamma ray part where he changes physically. And then if you notice, the Hulk does kind of have a flat head, and he's green. And he does look a little bit like the Frankenstein monster. And Stan Lee's like, absolutely, I stole that idea. I took Frankenstein. And Stan Lee, he's looking in the 60s too. So all the pop culture, the Frankenstein monster, he was pretty much green, right? Even the Glenn Strange paintings of him and stuff. I mean, Glenn Strange images was so famous in the 60s that actually when Karloff died in his obituary, the picture of him as the Frankenstein monster was actually Glenn Strange. It wasn't even him, man. They didn't even take the time to go, ooh, that's the wrong monster. Bad. Tomato, tomato, close enough. But anyway, yeah, so cool. And paint him green, doing it. And that is the Frankenstein monster. So that's it for today, folks. So keep it cool, dude. And I'll see you soon. Ciao.